As mentioned, we're joined in studio by Dov Lipman of the Yesh Atid party. Dov, this goes very well, actually, with your boss's platform that the relationships between the United States and Israel are very destabilized. Do you think, first of all, let's start with the fact that this is a headline that came out in an Israeli newspaper, identified with the left, saying that, this was a discussion within the White House, that possibly more veto, will be brought upon Israel, et cetera, et cetera. Does this actually help or hurt the election campaign?
I would actually prefer that there not be any international involvement in the campaign, but as these voices are heard, or as the Palestinians go to the United Nations, I do think the Israeli voter does have to say to himself, what will the ramifications be, assuming that Prime Minister Netanyahu is re-elected? And we woke up this morning to a poll that 60% of Israelis already recognize that he should not continue as Prime Minister. That's internal issues, but also the external issues and the damage that has been done to us internationally, and especially with the United States, with Netanyahu as Prime Minister.
But it's a very, very valid point, Mr. Lipman. That leads me to the question to you, because Israel has been very much criticized by the United States. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been criticized by the Obama administration from trying to meddle within American politics. We've seen that all over the course of the last year. Several, what was the famous line that it's un-American?
Un-American values.
Un-American values that was addressed to the White House. But, when Yair Lapid, your boss, comes out and says that, Americans, in not so many words, I'm ad-libbing, like him better. And there's also been a claim that Tzipi Livni and Yair Lapid have actually been trying to form a relationship within the White House, aside from the ones that are with Prime Minister Netanyahu. So aren't they doing the same thing?
Well, let's remember, during the year and a half that we were in office, all of us were trying to do damage control about that relationship. We, as members of parliament, with members of Congress, Yair Lapid being in touch with senators, or senators being in touch with him, is not undermining a prime minister. We're trying to salvage a relationship which is so critical. And therefore, when Yair Lapid mentioned that in his speech, of course, he was trying to point out the issue of the prime minister failing in the international arena. I don't think he was calling on the international community to get involved and push the elections, but he's pointing out to the Israeli electorate, you have a prime minister who tries to portray this image of, I'm the one who will always take care of Israel's security and Israel's best interest, and people hopefully will understand the actual damage that has been done through his premiership. And that's something we do have to bring to the public. And it's important for them to realize that Yair Lapid, or other leaders as well, have been able to maintain that relationship, and they need to be the candidates for prime minister.
And speaking of the the interest of forces within these elections, actually, I'm going to move to that point, because when I look at this upcoming campaign, Minister Lipman, how are you guys going to run it in 3 months? In the polls, you're not looking good. It's 9 mandates, right? That was the last poll that came out. 9 mandates.
Now we're at 11, it's
to the 9 and 12. Down, but
yeah.
You're fourth on the line. I mean, the
Right.
other parties are there. And as I asked you a couple of days ago, it looks like the stunt that the Prime Minister pulled on Yair Lapid is actually working in the mind of the public.
We look at the polls, and we remember that just a year and a half ago, the week of the election, we were polling at 13, and we ended up with 19. We are very confident in terms of where we stand right now, despite all the negativity, despite all what we view as lack of publicity of all the good that we've done. We're still polling at 11, 12. We're very confident going into this. We have 3 months, as you just pointed out, to bring the message. We have a long list of accomplishments that both ministers and members of Knesset have made. And the most important point, the budget which was on the table for 2015, which the Prime Minister stopped from coming into fruition, which we view as a very social-minded budget, which would have really helped Israelis in a tangible way. Once we bring that message to the Israeli public, we are extremely confident, and we're very, very happy with where we stand right now.
Yes. Procedure, he did that in the past.
There's significant panic mode right now in Netanyahu's camp. I mean, when they see Gideon Sa'ar coming back in the Likud, Gideon Sa'ar can defeat Netanyahu in the Likud. Let's remember, Sa'ar, Kachlon, these are ministers who were popular Likud ministers. The Prime Minister, anytime he had a challenge, he pushed people away. That's also part of the political analysis of the Yair Lapid situation also. Here we're coming with this positive budget, possibly good things coming on the horizon. Get rid of him right now. And the moment that happens, the panic comes into play, and he reaches out to members of Yesh Atid and says, let's not go to elections. You guys might not do so well. Come and join my government now. A minister, come back to your post now. And this is the panic mode of a person who is very weak.
Dov Lipman, do you think that's the type of advice Tal Shalev just gave Yair Lapid that he would consider?
Absolutely not. Yeah, Yair Lapid, the one thing I can tell you about him is the values. He's not going to be part of any of these kinds of what I would call corrupt maneuvers and under-the-table wheeling and dealings. It's not his style at all. His style is, we stood up to the Prime Minister because we were not going to cave on all these issues just to give him his seat. We're going to elections, and we in Yesh Atid are running to become the leadership party in the Knesset. And as I said before, the polls right now mean nothing to us in terms of the ultimate outcome, and that's our direction. And the minister and the member of Knesset that they turned to, without hesitation, it wasn't even a thought process. Wow, that sounds tempting. Maybe I should go for this. We are a unified party. That's one thing which has characterized us all the way through, and will continue that way.
No, definitely. But really quick last question, because you mentioned also, and so to tell the runners that are coming up, like Gideon Sa'ar. If Gideon Sa'ar would be, the head of the Likud, would Yesh Atid then stand with him? Is this just personal versus Netanyahu?
We've made a very clear statement that Prime Minister Netanyahu will not be the next Prime Minister. If you're asking me right now if Gideon Sa'ar is the head of the Likud, does that change the philosophy about what could happen after that? It changes a lot of things. We're still running with Yair Lapid for Prime Minister, but it changes a lot of things because this election is very much about a Prime Minister whose time has come, and it's time to give over the leadership to new, young, and I would even say visionary type leaders. We certainly see Yair Lapid as that type of person.
I'm going to have to take the stage away from you. That's all the time that we have. But thank you for being with us.